We need to surrender to the truth of who we are, to let go of false definitions of who we are, why we're here, and how we fit into the puzzle of reality. This month, our theme of getting to the heart of the infinity matrix has brought us face to face with the person in the mirror. It's set us on a course to nurture ourselves with a loving, harmonious community. And then dive into the haunting question of what is the legacy you'll leave as your stamp on the human race. Thanks everyone for joining us on Chapter 4, The Journey Home. As we round out episode 74, we thank you for your patience. We had some technical issues with the streaming software, had to start a little late today, but we're still here to give you the content. And in this episode, we're going to bring some powerful hacks that you can use today to get to the heart of the infinity matrix. And as Ross will talk about later, we need this now on our planet. Okay, now it's time to put these things into actionable infinity matrix hacks and tap into your deeply rooted foundation and trust of your inner wisdom. And with these fundamentals, you'll be creating a strong framework to build and sustain a collective empowered vision of reality. Well, we've got some really great hacks for you today, so you're going to want to stick around and pay attention. There are a couple of quick housekeeping things we need to do, and then we'll jump right in. First, go ahead and tell us in the comments where you're tuning in from. Just drop us a line. Some of you we've missed. I see Demetrius is coming back. We haven't seen in a little bit. And some of you are new, so that's great. If you're new, just drop a hashtag first time so that we kind of know that you're new. And let us know city and country so we can see and appreciate our global community that we're building. And then the other thing I want to mention is that we have a 5-day challenge that we're starting on March 7th. It's March 7th. It's a 5-day challenge. It's called the 3 Steps to Your Ultimate Badass Self and Living Life Without Compromise. We've had a couple of technical delays in setting things up this week, but we are just about ready to roll with it. It will be a free 5-day challenge in a private group with only people who are interested in the 3 steps to your badass self and living life without compromise. So if you found yourself struggling in the last couple of years because of isolation or any of the global conditions that we've all been dealing with, if you're at a place in your life where you're yearning for a transformation that's profound and lasting, or maybe you're just frustrated with your own lack of ability to create the life changes that you desire, then this is the challenge for you. So it's also for those who want tangible evidence that you can and do create your reality. But you need something more than just thinking positive methods of manifesting. Okay, sometimes it's about healing subconscious wounds and negative beliefs in order to shift your reality into something more harmonious, to manifest more good stuff in your life. This 5-day challenge is going to be lots of fun, jam-packed with reality-altering content. And by the end of the 5 days, by the end of the challenge, you'll have the 3 steps to your ultimate badass self and living life without compromise. So again, it's completely free. It's a 5-day challenge. Starts March 7th. If you're interested in joining us on this challenge and would like to get immediate notification on how to register, just go ahead and type in hashtag 5 days. Let me throw it up on the screen here. 1 second. Hashtag. I just had it.
5 days.
Yeah, I just had it to show up. Oh, there it is right there. Okay. Sorry, guys, all this technical stuff. So hashtag 5 days. So that's the hashtag, digit number 5, DAYS, all in one, so no space. Just go ahead and put that in, and then either Ross or I or one of our staff will get back to you and reach out to you on Messenger to give you details on how to register for that. Okay. Hashtag 5 days. Awesome. Looks like we got a bunch of people want to jump in. Excellent. And also you can share this with friends and family that would appreciate this as well, to let them know that they can do that. And then we can they can jump in and type in their hashtag 5 days so we know who it is and we can message them. All right. Great. Look forward to seeing you guys on the challenge. It's going to be amazing. Ross. Oh, we lost Ross. He just disappeared. What happened? Ross has gone on his own challenge. All right. So, all right, let's just see who we got people coming in from. Also, let us know in the comments where you're coming from. So let's see our global audience there. Let me just journey home. We'll wait for Ross. Don't forget plenty of drink. Yes, I agree. And we got Lexington. We got London. Oh, Ross is coming back in. And I don't have an image for you yet, Ross. Oh, it's coming in. It's loading up. There you go.
There we go. So we're
back.
All the problems worked out yet. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I do. You're a little loud, though.
Well,
I don't know if that's my mic or what, but it just came out a little loud.
I'll just turn things down a little bit. Maybe I'm just so excited that I'm back. I'm really, really jazzed up about this 5-day challenge. And don't let the word challenge throw you off. This is 5 days of training. So as Gary said, you want to invite somebody in and say, listen, this is what I've been watching for over a year. They're going to get a really good taste of what we do. But these are things, we're going to be training things that we never trained even on our live stream. So it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So let me get my system reorganized here. So, speaking of this 5-day, this is a career for us because we are interested in some messy topics, some pretty touchy, sensitive topics. And we want to understand them and understand you. We've developed a way to hack into these things that we know are important. They're important to us and they're important to you. And we decipher and modify the code. We take that code out for everyone to see and to use. It's all about connection. Realizing that connection is why we're here. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. This is what it's all about. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do for a living. What matters is that connection. The ability to feel connected is a neurobiological, that's how we're wired. It's why we're here. When we develop this month's topic, it's connection. Connection with yourself, with others, with Gaia. And now we're going to solidify those connections. Well, apparently it turns out that fear and shame and anger and anxiety, heartbreak are all tied to a variation of disconnection. We all have it. The only people who don't have no capacity for human empathy or connection, and they exist. No one wants to talk about it, and the less you talk about it, the more you have it. So there's this idea. In order for connection to happen, we have to allow ourselves to be seen, really seen. This also means possibility of being vulnerable. And most people hate vulnerability. They don't like it. It's a learned behavior, an implied sign of weakness, of threat, of pain in the future, based on pain from the past. This crazy part is the thing that keeps us disconnected, and it is our fear that we're not worthy of connection, our fear of really the interaction with ourselves and others. The potential exposure of the facade that we've created will crumble, and will be exposed for the true humans that we are. But if we fully embrace that vulnerability, it makes us more beautiful. Now, we're not saying vulnerability is comfortable, but it's not excruciating either. Rather, it is necessary. It's just the vulnerable world we live in. Perhaps the reason for so much of the debt and the obesity and the addiction and the medicated adults in history. The problem is answered in most of the research, that you cannot selectively numb emotion. You can't say, I'm not going to feel this emotion. You can't say, here's all the bad stuff that's making me feel vulnerable. I don't want to feel these anymore, so I'm going to squelch the pain. But with it goes the other emotions that we would prefer to keep. The joy, the gratitude, the happiness, all of them. And then we're miserable. And we're looking for purpose. We're looking for meaning. And then we feel vulnerable. Kind of notice a pattern? Our job, Gary and myself, is to look and say, you know what? You're imperfect and you're wired for struggle, but you are worthy of love and belonging. That's our job. How do we know? Because many of you have told us. Most of this came from our down the rabbit hole conversations, where we explored deeper and deeper into the topics that we discuss and see what surfaces. It's a safe space where all of us are there to support and contribute the overall knowledge base of the community. We hope you'll sometimes join us. They're on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific time. You can register at the Zoom link. Gary's got it running across the bottom of the screen. But that's where we learn. That's what the rabbit holes are really about, so that you can get your questions answered. You can let out some of these things and feel safe. And we learn. We learn how to better serve you.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the rabbit hole's been growing. We've gotten
last week off the hook.
It was really good buzz going on. So you guys, you're missing out if you haven't been showing up. And those of you that are joining us, we appreciate you every week for showing up and contributing and participating in that, because it really shows our community, and it's a representation of our community's mindset and how we want to grow and how we want to expand collectively, and tap into our own inner powers. So today, the first hack today is a simple yet powerful one. And now I said simple, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. Okay. What I'm going to suggest to you, for you to do, may push you up against some of your comfort zones. But I want you to realize that your greatest growth and deepest learnings often come from you going out to the outer reaches of what you've conditioned yourself to become comfortable with, and then explore. Right? Explore what is in those places that you haven't yet ventured to. All right. And Demetrius said it really nicely. Let me see if I can pull that up again. It's a couple of things. So yeah, coming out of your comfort zone. Yeah, and it's like he was reading my mind and knowing what I was going to say. And then he's vulnerability and voluntary. Yeah, voluntary vulnerability. These are really important characteristics on this path, right? On this path of becoming your badass self, which is kind of the theme we're talking about in the 5-day challenge. And so while it may not be easy, it is a simple process that I'm going to show you to do, or talk to you about doing. And I would suggest that you check it out for yourself, because that's what all the hacks we do are for, is for you to kind of take it and and apply it and see if it holds any water, if you get any result with it, if it makes any difference to you. And if it does, great. You can log that in, do more of it. If it doesn't, then that's fine. Put it aside till maybe come back, try it a different time, or when you're in a different mind frame, or when you've learned and grown to different things, when it resonates more with you. So just because we're teaching them at this time, you're going to get what you get out of it now, but when you come back to it, and you come back to the different hacks that we've done, you're going to get something different from them every time, because you show up different every time, right? Even if it's just a little bit, you show up different. So the result can't be the same. It's just not possible. All right. So here's the hack. And I'm going to just go through it, and you can take notes. We will be posting the steps to the hacks. If you guys want to take notes and drop them in the chat while I'm doing it, that's great. But Ross and I will have an official notes of it, like a recap of the notes in the group.
There's a hack section actually in the guides tab. So there's actually a hack section.
Yeah, so you just go there and you'll see the hacks for these. So we'll create a nice graphic for it and put it up there either today or tomorrow. All right. So first hack, step 1. I want you to block off 10 minutes of time for this particular hack. Okay. And I suggest you either do it first thing in the morning or just before going to bed, either one. Okay. They're great times to do this particular process. Any other time, your mind is going to probably be too distracted with all the things that you need to do. All right. So either right before you start your daily activities, or at the end of the day when you're done your daily activities and you're ready to kind of wind down and go to bed. All right. So that's step 1. Set aside 10 minutes for this exercise. Step 2, make sure you set a timer so that you won't be wondering when your time is up. Because when you're doing the actual process, especially when it gets to some difficult or uncomfortable points of the exercise, you may be like, what time is it? And you go off track, right? And you're like, or, a minute may seem like 10 minutes. It's like, And so if you set a timer, then you know that that's going to handle the time thing. It's out of your mind, and you won't have to be thinking about how much time left while doing the hack. You can focus on just doing that. So number 1, 10 minutes. Number 2, set a timer to take care of that for you. Step 3, I want you to get in front of a mirror. Okay. And I want you to position yourself so that you can be in front of that mirror for the full 10 minutes. All right. And you want to be able to look in the mirror and see your face. So make sure it's big enough so you can see your reflection of your face. All you need to see is your face, nothing else. If you see the rest of your body, that's fine. But this exercise is just for you looking in your face. All right. Make sure the lighting is good and comfortable, so it's not squinting your eyes and hurt, because then that's other distraction stuff that's going to get you away from doing the exercise. Okay. Step 4. You set the timer. So you designated time. You set the timer. You got your mirror. Now, what I want you just to look into your eyes in the mirror. So actually stare into your eyes in the mirror. In fact, I want you to pick one eye. Either one, doesn't matter, but I want you to pick one eye and stare into that eye in the reflection. Okay? And keep your gaze there. If at any time you get distracted by noises or thoughts or boredom or whatever, if you get distracted in any way, just bring your attention back to staring into that eye. So step 4 is to look into the mirror and stare into one of your eyes. Then step 5, while staring into your eye in the mirror for 10 minutes, I want you to ask yourself the following 2 questions. First one is, who am I? And pose that question to the reflection coming back to you. Who am I? And wait a moment or 2 and notice what comes up, if anything comes up. Okay? If any thoughts, any ideas, any concepts, any aha moment, whatever. Who am I? Just pose that question. Wait for a few seconds. If anything comes up, great. If nothing, that's fine too. Right? There's no right or wrong in this. Just going to notice what happens. Second question right after that is, who am I not? And contemplate that. Who am I not? right? So you're going to do and then you're going to wait for an answer to come to mind of some kind. Give it a few seconds, give it a few moments. And then whatever comes to mind, step 6, no matter what it is, when an answer comes to mind, don't judge it. Okay? Do not judge it. That's not the purpose of this. Don't try to analyze it. Don't try to make sense of it. Just accept whatever comes up by saying thank you to yourself. Okay? You're going to thank yourself by saying, thank you, I accept that. And I'll give you an example of this in a second after I go through the steps. Okay? Then, when you've accepted that, then you continue the process of staring in the eye and repeat steps 5 and 6 for the entire 10 minutes. You're just going to go through the different layers of what shows up, what comes up for you. Okay? And I'd like you to do this. I would suggest that you do this for a minimum of 3 days in a row. If you really want a good challenge, do it for 30 days. But just start 3 days. Whoa, that's pretty loud there, Roscoe. So just 3 days. I heard some pinging, like a bell notification.
I saw what it was. Yeah, it's not supposed to happen, but it happened.
Okay. So maybe that was my 10 minutes. That's it.
It's like, get on with
it. All right. So here's what it's going to look like. Okay. Get in front of your mirror. Set your timer on your phone. Okay. Put that down. Look at the mirror. Look at that one eye. Keep your gaze on that one eye. Breathe properly, obviously, and make sure your breath is going and all the other stuff that you need to do. But in a comfortable position, as you're looking in the mirror, you're going to say to yourself, out loud or internally, doesn't matter, but you're going to ask the question, pose the question, who am I? And just wait. Notice what comes up. And whatever comes up, if an idea or a thought or an image, or like you hear a little voice in your head that says you're red, whatever it is, right? Or accept that, right? And then you say, who am I not? And wait for an answer to come to mind. Whatever comes up, without judgment, you're going to say, thank you, I accept that. Keep staring in the eye, and then repeat 5. Go back to step 5 and say, who am I? Who am I not? And wait for that to come up, and notice what goes on in that little 3-pound muscle that's between that skull of yours, all right? And notice what's going on. Notice what goes on in the body. Sometimes it's a physical sensation. Sometimes it's some movement. Sometimes it's a sound that comes out. Be open for whatever. And this is what I said. Sometimes it's on the outer stretches of your comfort zone. But by being open for that and allowing all that to happen, then you get access to the truth of who you are, not a confined definition of who you've convinced yourself you are. Okay? There may be some components of that in the truth, but it's not the full totality of who you are. Okay? And then do this for a minimum of 3 days in a row. And I'm going to leave it to you to experience what you experience with that. But I would, I'd love it if you came back to this post to tell us what happened when you've done this hack. Come back and share. Okay. In fact, go ahead and tell me in the comments. Give me a commitment in the comments. Say hashtag who am I? Hashtag who am I? To let me know you're going to come back and share when you do this exercise, and so we can kind of look out for that and hear your experience of what goes on. Even if nothing happened, hey, Gira, it was blank. I just stayed there and I was in a zone, and I just kind of looked in my eyes and noticed how pretty they were. Whatever, right? Whatever it is.
I was kidding when I told you that.
So hashtag who am I? Excellent. We got some people. Yeah. And then do the exercise and come back and share so that other people start to see that, hey, something's going on or something's not going on. Because again, there's no one thing fits all. Like we see a lot of it out there. Demetrius, I have green eyes. We see a lot of teachers and coaches and consultants out there where they have, this very narrow-minded way of doing things and presenting just this one thing being the be-all for everybody they work with. Well, we don't see that. That's why you see in every episode we're at 73 now. Every single one is different. Every single one. Right? Some of the themes of the content is there, but every single one is different because we know that people are going to resonate with different things at different times in different ways. And that goes for these transformation processes, is to have some variation in it that allows you to explore what's right for you, not what's right for Ross and Gary. Right? Because the infinity matrix we always talk about is the infinity matrix that you experience, not the one we experience. Right? It's your external matrix. It's your internal matrix and how they come together at the choice convergence point to create your reality. All right. So I'm going to leave that to your experience. I'd love it if you came back. I see a bunch of you've committed to doing that. That'd be awesome. We'd love to see that. And I would like to share one common experience, though, so that you don't freak out and understand that it's perfectly normal if it happens to you. Okay. All right. So if it happens to you, when you start staring in the mirror after a period of time, and some people it's shorter, some people it's longer, but it's not uncommon for you to see your face starting to morph into other faces or even animals. Don't freak out. Okay, it's just your mind running through metaphors and concepts to try to give you an answer for who you believe yourself to be. Okay, and if you join us on Down the Rabbit Hole on Saturday, 8 a.m. PST, it's running on the bottom there to get the link. If you join us on Rabbit Hole, we can have some expanded discussions on what else some of those things could mean that come up for you as they come up for you, because there are some other things that could mean for particular individuals. But of course, you need to register the Zoom link, block off that time, 8 a.m. Saturday, come join our awesome growing community there.
Exactly.
And the conversations are on fire, so you got to show
They
up.
they're just amazing. So we've we've talked all this month about your relationship with yourself, your friends and coworkers, and this magnificent planet. And many of you ask, well, how do I maintain that connection with a person? How do I get connections with new people and create new friends? How do I create rapport? So with this in mind, it's very important that you understand that you are in charge of the results that you get in your communication with another person, and that people like people who are like themselves, and that this communication that you have comes out of a very unconscious level, the physiology of body language. So when you learn this, you'll realize that your friends and teachers and family are all communicating with more than just words. Now, last month we discussed the power of words. And like all of the trainings we do, there is another part to our communication that allows those words to be even more powerful. And that's rapport. Let me first explain what rapport is. Rapport is a technique for responsiveness, a technique for opening up communications. Rapport is a specific set of tools and techniques to create a responsiveness in another individual or with a group of people. It's not about manipulation or underhandedness, lying, or getting someone else to like you. That's a big misconception, mostly because they're confused with the saying that people tend to like people who are like themselves. And so liking someone because they're alike doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be friends with them or that you're going to be influenced by them. What it means is that there's an openness. It opens up the channel of communication. Imagine, especially now, imagine a world where we've all dropped the facades and just really communicated with each other. So let's take a look from a psychology background. Specifically, when you have rapport with someone, they are more open and receptive to hearing the words that you have to say and getting a picture of what it is that you are sharing. From getting that overall experience, here's what I have, and I'm willing to listen to you to see what would be a different way of viewing this, possibly that would be a different way of changing my life. What would be a different way of paying attention to things around me? When you don't have rapport with someone, what happens is you literally have closed that communication. So why would rapport be so important? The reason why rapport would be so important is that it literally gives you a specific set of tools and techniques that opens up that channel between you and another person. If you're working with someone and you have rapport with them, you're able to go there and share information and provide feedback with an openness. So I've been in business management since I was 17 years old. And a lot of what I learned in the early days about rapport, I was able to apply directly to my business dealings, my business relationships, employee relationships, my personal life as well. When you have rapport, the barriers of ego and pride are removed, and the person is more apt to listen to what you have to say. They are more open to that communication. They get a better feel for what it is that you're saying. They hear your words. In relationships, when you have rapport with your family or your friends or your partner, you have that ability to open up that channel of communication and overcome obstacles, barriers, disagreements. The list goes on and on, whether it be spouses, children, siblings, parents, all of this. Without rapport, you're just bumping up against people, bumping. It's like, oh, that's not working, and that's not working. So this is my point of view. With rapport, it opens up that channel of communication. I cannot stress that enough. So what about your own health and fitness, getting healthy and fit in your own body? Okay, Milton Erickson, who basically kind of developed these techniques, were specifically modeled after patients because they were out of rapport with their unconscious mind. Imagine that. Think about that for a second. When you lose rapport with your unconscious mind, which goes with what the hack that Gary just gave you. So when you lose that, what happens? What does that do? What does that say? Imagine what that means when you have a rapport inside. That ability to wake up and say, you know what? Today I need to exercise, and your body responds. Your behaviors reflect your thoughts. That only comes from having rapport with yourself, with your unconscious mind.
Yeah, it's like getting on a bus and not having any control over where the bus is going, and let the driver decide on his own.
And this rapport, or this lack of rapport, is why a lot of people fail in getting diet and in achieving their diets. They don't have that rapport with the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, like, yeah, you might want to do that, but this is what I want to do because I don't understand what you want to do,
Exactly.
and vice versa. So the reason why rapport is so important is that it opens up those communications internally and externally with others. By having that communication, you have the needed responsiveness. Doesn't mean you're right or they're right. It just means that they might say no, but they know why they're saying no. Or you might say yes because you know why you're saying yes, and vice versa. Communication is so much more than the words that we speak. It is both verbal and nonverbal. At any given time, we are communicating more than what we are just saying. And as we spoke last month, what we are saying is as important. In fact, the nonverbal communication is far more meaningful than the words. And there's a study that is cited that 7% of our communication is the words. So if it's 7%, that's why those words need to be spot on. Okay, 38% is tonality. Okay, the pitch, how you raise and lower your voice. And 55% is physiology, our body. Let me give you an example. Watch carefully. Are you ready? The train's going to arrive at 10:30. Now, I bet you picked up right away with the sensory acuity that you reduce your ones aren't that you're not crying. My physiology was expressing the opposite of the words that I was saying. It's what I wanted to talk about, okay? But I say, you know what? The train is going to arrive at 10:30. Was that seemed like a little bit more incongruent with what I was saying? This is just a very, very simple example, but we see it all the time. When someone talks to us and you're just like, something's off with the way that person is communicating to me.
And a more obvious one that you'll see on a regular communication is, I really want to do that. I really want to do that. Right? So their body's doing this, but their voice is saying this. You know, yeah, I really would love to do that. You know, and so you're getting these unconscious communications.
Right. So listen carefully now. We most noticed the 55% being physiology when there is an incongruence between the words and the physiology, what Gary just said. But here's the deal. When there's no incongruency, when your physiology is backing up the words, we tend to consciously focus on the words themselves. So when there is that incongruency, you're kind of going, something's off. You're not hearing the words. But when they are congruent, then you're totally open. So what this means is that the bulk of what we are communicating to another person isn't coming from the words. The bulk of it isn't coming from the words. It isn't coming from the tonality, but rather the physiology. The second biggest portion of our communication is the tonality, and the smallest amount we are is the words. This is in no way diminishes the importance that we stressed last month, as I said, of the words that you use. This enhances those words. So, when you can, how can I say this? So, when you can hallucinate a positive tone on that, okay, we crave for tonality, we crave for physiology. The reason why this information is so important is that the bulk of our communication is coming from the body, what you're seeing. And in studies of psychology, your tone and your physiology are a function of unconscious behavior. So you're doing this and not realizing you're doing it. What Gary just demonstrated. Yes, I really like that. When someone says that to me, I'm like, are you sure? Because your words, because we're trained in this, we're like, your words say you like it, but your body's saying you don't like it. That means that a bulk of that communication is the control of it is directed by your unconscious mind. So when you see someone say, oh, I really like that, they don't know that they're making that facial expression, those micro expressions or movements. They don't know that they have that physiology. And this means you too. Okay? But now you have another tool to better understand and communicate. So here's your hack. The easiest way to establish rapport is by matching and mirroring. Matching is very simple. So if you would please, I want everyone to go ahead and raise your right hand. Okay, you raise your right hand. Now I'm going to raise my right hand. I am now matching you. So there, you have your right hand raised, I have mine raised. I am mirroring you. Another person's physiology, you, so that you can establish a rapport, because remember, people like people who are like themselves. So you raise your right hand, my right hand is up, and you go, he's like me. I've got my right hand. He's got his right hand up. Now, we're going to go further. I know what some of you are thinking, so hang on. So if you match and mirror the bulk of where communication is in that physiology, you're then able to establish a level of rapport, because at the unconscious level, the person sitting there going, wow, this individual's a lot like me. And this can be with people you don't know, complete strangers, okay? So next time you're out with another person, the next time you're meeting with an individual or you're around someone you already have a great deal of rapport with, notice that you sit in a similar way. That would be the posture under the 55% rule. Notice that you have similar gestures. Think of facial expressions, blinking, breathing. These are all things that you can match in mirror with your physiology that falls under that 55% rule. It's so important. But be careful. Do not mimic someone. Okay, in other words, you raise your right hand, I go just like this. Okay, just casually, just make it work when it feels natural for yourself. Somebody crosses their legs and you're just like, okay. You know, and then during the conversation, you just cross your legs as well. It's very, very simple. Somebody runs their fingers through their hair. Okay, don't do it right away. You just, like in your conversation, you just kind of do this. They will unconsciously start to pick up that. Just don't do it as soon as be subtle, be calm, be casual. If it is something that is very abrupt, then don't. You're looking for the subtle gestures that they make, and those are where you want to match and mirror. So the biggest mistake I see that people making when they first learn matching and mirroring is that they think that they need to do it right away, when the person is actually making that physiological movement. And that's not the way it works. You need to match and mirror outside the conscious awareness of the individual. So in other words, let's say right now you crossed your arms. Well, I wouldn't immediately do it. I'd say, I might just sit back and, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I understand that. And then they uncross their arms and, okay, yeah, sure. I get it. Yeah, so it's just a casual movement. You don't want to mimic them. It's very, very important. So you just wait. And if it doesn't feel natural to you, then I'd recommend you don't do it until you get better at this. Just use the little things to start off with. So in other words, when you want to do it in a way where you're pacing the other person's experience, we call this pacing and leading. Pacing is where you're looking at the client or the person, and you are pacing their experience by matching and mirroring their physiology, their tone, their pitch, the speed, the loudness. Those are really good pitch and quality. So, this is when they're talking. If they talk really fast, you want to speed up just a little bit. They talk very, very.
I want to just jump in here. So Reina says, sometimes I catch myself using the same gestures as others around me, and once I realize that what I'm doing, I try to stop myself. And then her second, so you're saying this is a good thing. Yes, it's a good thing when it happens naturally, for sure. But if you're like Ross is saying, if you go in with the intention, because then it becomes manipulative, and then they pick that up, right? So you when you find that you're not in rapport with someone for some reason, then you can use these techniques to get into that synchronicity of that other person's vibe, if you will.
Right.
All right. To get into their vibration, their frequency, and therefore even some of their thought patterns. So it's totally normal. We do it as a natural anyways. It's when it's not working the way we want it to, that we want to give you some tools on how to kind of bump it up and kind of give yourself that edge in your ability to change that experience.
Exactly. And you don't want to be a caricature of them. You want to over, they're going to raise your hand. You're like this, or you're being just overly too much of them, because it will stand out. And then they're going to start looking at you. Now you've become incongruent. And they're going to pick up on that. This is just casual. So start in little tiny steps. Okay. Sometimes.
And you also run the risk. You also run the risk too when you're doing rapport in that way, and you also run the risk of also taking on some of their limitations.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're in a limiting vibration and you match it, so if someone's in a depressed state and you match them too much, you can actually take on that experience of depression.
Very much. Yeah, and that's a whole nother hack. So it's a matter of, as I said, being subtle. Sometimes just start with matching their breathing patterns. That's the one that is very much. And
they
you would have to be doing that to us for us to realize what you're doing, because we're trained in this. But you just, they take a breath, you take a breath. You just get that rhythm going. Okay, their tonality. Another one that's very easy to match and mirror, and such. If they talk more to the slower, then slow down. Okay. Otherwise, if you're talking really fast or really loud, but they talk more a slower and a quieter, they're gonna like, oh, we're just not compatible. This isn't working, because they're consciously thinking of, oh, God, this guy talks really loud. So it takes some practice, but it works. It works very, very well. These are the situations when, it's really fun to do on airplanes. Match and mirror the person sitting next to you. And there's like,
or 3 aisles up.
Yeah, really, And
then they start looking
they're just
back
like,
at you and like,
but when your plane lands, you go, I really enjoyed our conversation. I really, and then you're just like, that's great, fantastic, You're not hurting anyone. You're just opening that communication. You're opening the energy channels. So in summary, your intention is only to open up those channels through a responsiveness that you establish with your open line of matching and mirroring, all while staying outside the awareness of the individual. If a person sits down next to you and you slowly, comfortably, in a way that works for you, that's natural for you, begin to match and mirror their posture, their gestures, their facial expressions, their blinking, their breathing. And you might be sitting there going, well, what about the tonality? As they begin to talk, as I said, listen to their pitch, their speed, their quality, and adjust accordingly. That's a harder one to do. You have to be much more, it's easier to pick up on that one as the other person. So again, just work with those smaller ones, your breathing, blinking, facial gesture, posture, and such. Talking slow, talking fast, talking a little bit louder.
And it's practice, right? As in everything
Exactly.
we teach you and go through here, it's practice. And then you'll get to a point where you no longer even need to think about it. It just happens naturally. And that's where you want to get to. You want to build it so it becomes unconsciously unconscious,
Exactly.
where you're just doing it naturally. It's what you do when you get around people and you find you're building more rapport easily. Same with, the who am I question. When you're doing that and you're building that relationship with that truth of who you are, that just becomes a state of being. And that's what we want to kind of lean towards. So
one of the other things you're going to find too is now, because we've just explained how this works, you're going to see people doing it to you as well and such. And then you can revel in the fact that, wow, that person does that really well. Or that person, you're going to kind of go, this person is saying this, but his body is saying this. Okay, this is a tool that works both ways for you. It gives you rapport, then it also signifies that the other person is not in rapport with you, and that the words that they're speaking are not matching what their subconscious mind is basically expressing from the body and such. And it gives you pause. Doesn't mean anything that it's bad. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying. It just means that something's off. The communication is off. So just take pause. And that's it. It's awesome. This is really, really a powerful hack.
And the more you can build rapport with those around you, the stronger that community is, and then it ripples out. And again, that's what all of the purpose and the intention of this is to build that hack that Ross was talking about, is to build stronger community, a sense of community, so that grows, right? And so now for the final hack today, the focus of this one is intended to set you on a quest to find reassurance in a world that can and will become a better place because you show up as your true, authentic self. A self that's raw, vulnerable, and powerful beyond belief. That's what we're going for. Okay? That's what we want to put in front of you. That's what we want you to sign up for. Right? And by doing that, it will dissolve the invisible barriers and eliminate any feelings of loneliness and fear and anxiety and even depression. Okay, so you've already got a hack to connect with yourself today. Ross just went through a hack to better connect with others. So now it's time for a hack to connect with Gaia, Mother Earth. All right, and this is one of my favorite hacks. And I'll say that I don't do it often enough, right? But I love it. So get ready for this one here. I suggest that you do this one at least once per month. But if you can do it, or a variation of it on a weekly or even daily basis, you'll find super, super beneficial experiences from it on many levels of reality for you. Okay, so I'm just going to pump through them again. You'll get the steps for this in the group, private group, so you need to go there and get that later. I'm just going to pump them through, and I saw Demetrius already put the steps for the previous one. I'm sure he'll do that here as well. He's fast. You type fast, Demetrius. I'm not impressed. All right, so step one. You're going to go out and find a place in nature where there are trees, big rocks, and water. Okay, so find yourself out in nature if you have that capacity to do that, where there's water, there's big rocks, and trees. And they don't have to necessarily be in the exact same area, but just out in nature. So it could be off in a distance, in the woods or whatever, where you know that those things all exist. Okay, so find yourself out a place in nature, in Mother Nature's backyard. Okay. Then step two, I want you to pick a tree. Just notice around, pick one tree where you can comfortably sit under and lean your back against the trunk for about 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, and this one can be loose in the timing of it, but 20 or 30 minutes is a good time frame to do this exercise. Then when you do that, you're under the tree. I want you to close your eyes And I want you to put your hands on the ground. So actually feel as if you're feeling the soil, the grass, whatever it is underneath you. Feel the ground beneath you. And I want you to imagine, as you're doing that, imagine and see if you can imagine feeling the roots of this tree as they go down into the soil. Okay? Get a sense of how many roots there are, how thick they are, how deep they go, or how far they reach, and just breathe slowly and deeply. So, step 1, get out in nature. Step 2, find a tree. Sit for approximately 20 minutes. Step 3, close your eyes and touch Mother Earth. Okay? And while you're touching her, just notice. See if you can imagine feeling the roots of that tree in the soil. Get a sense of how many roots there are. Right? And the characteristics of those roots. Then, step 4. Imagine following those roots under the ground, through the soil, until they touch up against a rock in the area, a big rock. You may even get a sense of the small rocks. The roots have to actually maneuver around or under or over. But imagine coming up on a big rock as if the roots themselves were actually touching and feeling the rock. Imagine and wonder if you could sense the sensations of the big rocks. And then notice if you can be aware of the life energy of that rock. Everything has life energy. So sense the life energy. So step 4 is to follow the roots and connect with a rock and its life energy. Step 5, once you've spent some time with the rock, okay, and not Dwayne Johnson, but the rock in the
Or Gary Johnson.
which, on a side note, my middle name is Dwayne, but that's not what this is.
They're twins. Right. Yes, just just like the Arnold and the DeVito.
Exactly. So once you've spent some time with the rock, imagine moving beyond it until the roots start to find some water. And now while you're doing this, while now the roots go from the rock to the water, remember to breathe, remember to feel the ground under your palm, right? Feel the trunk of the tree, feel your back, so be present, and notice if you can sense the water that feeds the roots. Imagine the sensation of thirsty roots finding and searching for water, and what that would feel like. And then notice if you can become aware of the life energy of water. Right? So step 5 is to move beyond the rock and search and connect with the life energy of the water. Then, step 6, I want you to move your awareness beyond the root and transfer it to the water and start to flow with the water through the dirt to its source. Maybe it's a creek, maybe it's a river, maybe it's a lake, or even the ocean. Imagine flowing through, under, above the surface of the earth. And notice if you can start to become aware of that moment when water touches air and realizes there's another level of existence that connects us all. Because there's that moment when you realize that you are beyond this, the outside of that is a part of what makes this up. But just do it from the perspective of the water for now. Okay, then step 7. Take a few moments to consider and imagine what it's like when the water makes the choice and decides that it's time to transition from its current state of liquid into the molecules of the air, to take on another journey, another connection with all that is. So step 6, you move beyond the roots, transfer into the water, connect with the water, and become aware of that moment where water realizes there's another level of existence. Step 7, you imagine flowing into that next level of air, connecting with the air and noticing the journey that takes you on, and follow the air. Step 8 is to follow the air as far as your imagination will allow. And spend a few moments just to ponder how any pocket of air could possibly distinguish itself from any other pocket. And if there's really any purpose in seeking separation, then wonder at what point does it become pointless to deny that everything is connected. So step 8, follow the air and come to the realization, or see if you can get to a realization where everything is connected. And then step 9, the final step, when you are I want you to imagine and have that air come back to bring full circle, right? Bringing everything back full circle, where you can allow that air right back into you as you breathe it into your body, circulating and nourishing you, right? It comes in, nourishes you before your body transforms it into a way so that when it comes back out, it also feeds the tree that you're leaning upon, with your hands touching the soil, where you feel rooted in your connection with Mother Gaia.
Bravo.
And those are the hacks for Chapter 4, The Journey Home, Episode 73, Getting to the Heart of the Infinity Matrix. Hope you enjoyed our topic this month. Hope you got a lot from it. We hope that you enjoyed all aspects of the theme. And again, we thank you all for joining us. We greatly appreciate you for being here, sticking around, playing along. We'll also, as I mentioned, post these hacks in the private group later today or tomorrow. So make sure you check the post so you can, it's under the guides tab, sorry. So you can catch them there and practice, right? You'll have these steps to practice. Also remember that we have the 5-day challenge coming up, the free challenge. Let me throw that on the stage. There again. All right. So also remember that we have the 5-day challenge coming up in March 7th. If you have already done it, go ahead and enter hashtag 5 days in the chat to get notification on how to register for that in the next few days, as we start to build up that audience, that group for that private group. Until next time, I think Ross has a finishing component to touch on. But we dare you to be exceptional. Take what you get from these live streams and implement what you learn, and then learn from what you implement, so you can master the art of designing your reality.
We love it. So in closing, most of you are aware of the state of international affairs as they have come to a troubling head. If there was ever a time to learn the art of open, clear communications, it is surely now. Our hearts go out to the innocents of all sides who are simply caught in a power struggle of ego and greed. For all of us in this community of love, and joy, and expansion, we ask this of you. Stay in the eye of the storm. Learn and exercise the tools that we've been teaching for the last year. Observe, interpret, and respond. And as we've seen in the last few years, the effort to manipulate and divide is great. And you are greater. So if you begin to feel the pressures of these events, reach out to this group's community. That's why we created it. You're not and never will be alone. We're always here for you. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to kind of back
Please.
that up too, I think it's now is the time when we need people like you to show up as your badass self, to kind of project and put out there into the world an empowered reality. And that's what we want to all strive for. So thanks everyone for showing up, and we will see you next time. Be well. And again, thank you for understanding the technical delays and still showing up and participating so awesomely.
It was all,
Be well, everyone.
It was all Gary's fault too, so I'm just going to let you
know. Of course.
He's the tech guy, so if it breaks, it's his fault. It's easy.